Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live this morning on a beautiful day. I hope everybody has started the day with their vitamin C, coffee. I know a few of you don't like coffee. I feel sorry for you, but that's all right. Bernice, good morning to you. I know when I scroll down, I always miss people, but I do love saying hello. Usually I try and go back in afterwards. And Diane, how are you? And the Pronovo's watching this morning. And Shelley, good morning to you. And Jerry, Grace from Newfoundland. Good to have you on, Grace. And let me just see if I get this word right. Zateka, or Zateka. I probably pronounced that wrong, but how are you, Zateka? And Keith, good morning to you. Palarco from Washington. And you get bonjour, Arlene, Elaine. And good to have you on. Nativity, good morning. Linda, how are you? Jeanette. And you guys are great. Thank you for coming on. We're going to talk about why you need to elevate your cholesterol. And good morning to you, Vicky. And good morning, Diane. Another Diane. Melanie. Bon matin avec café. Oui. Moi aussi, j'ai eu 3 cafés ce matin. Somebody asked me yesterday. We had Tony Jr. and I did a live just question and answer on Zoom yesterday afternoon. Somebody asked me how many coffees are good for you. Well, I put up 4 because that's how many I have a day. Like tonight, I'm going to have a decaf. And sometimes I slip in a 5th cup of coffee. But I like to have, I don't know how. I feel sorry for people that don't drink coffee. Joanna from the Netherlands, sitting in the sun. Well, good for you, Joanna, and thank you so much for coming on this morning. We appreciate it. Jane from Toronto. And Kim is on with us, right from Sudbury. Andrea from Nouveau Brunswick. And Sandra, good morning. Folks, you're gonna love this morning. I think you will. You might get a little bit upset if you've been duped. Laurie, how are you? Big time fog, she says, in Waterloo this morning. And Jean and Fran and Joyce and Dave, good morning. Nancy, you guys, I really do appreciate it. Jan, Rhonda, and Vera, Molly, Terry, Travis. That's just our air conditioning going on. Cindy, Elsie, Nick. Okay, Marie. And Marie from Alberta. Okay. So, good to have you on with us this morning. We're going to talk about why and how to keep your cholesterol levels high. Why, first of all, and then how do you do that? Okay? So why on God's earth would you want to have high levels of cholesterol? Well, do you want to live longer? Do you want to live longer? People who have the highest levels of cholesterol live longer. Just a fact. And like I've said to you more than 1,000 times, I'm sure, cholesterol is not the boogeyman, yet it's made out to be the boogeyman every day. But it's not. And you only have to take 5 minutes of biochemistry to understand that cholesterol is essential. You can't live without it. So why? Well, you want to live longer. You want to be healthier. You need cholesterol. Now, I'm in the school. I just want to tell you ahead of time. I'm in the school not only of high cholesterol, but I'm in the school that there's no such thing as bad cholesterol. There's no such thing. Like, guys, I know the difference between total cholesterol, your HDL. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about LDL. And every time someone sends me their blood work to analyze, do I look at their total cholesterol? Nah, it's there, so I guess I do. I peek at it, but I don't care. I want to know what your triglycerides are, and I want to know what your HDL is. That's all I need to know. And I've told you 1,000 times the reason I say that. But let me give you a few more reasons. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol. So LDL, because they found a drug to lower LDL, they found a drug, a class of drugs. They're called statin drugs. And statins, as I've reminded you many times in the past, the #1 selling drug of all time, the one that brought in the most money ever, is a drug called Lipitor. And it's got a few cousins, Crestor and Zocor. And they marketed the life out of these things. And they changed almost every physician in the world that I know of. And they changed their thinking. Now, this happened a long time ago. It started in the 70s. It hit full pin in the 80s and has become, it became the new normal. Cholesterol is bad. Cholesterol is bad. Cholesterol causes heart disease. Therefore, we must lower your cholesterol. And blood work for the last 40 years or so is circled. They want to know your total cholesterol. They want to know what especially your LDL is. Very few doctors talk about triglycerides. And they made it up to the marketing of the big pharmaceutical companies. You must give them credit because they changed the world's thinking on cholesterol. They just changed it. Wasn't like that in the 50s and the 60s. It wasn't like that. Cholesterol wasn't even a factor. Nobody even talked about it. If you were a doctor going to medical school in the 60s, you weren't talking about cholesterol. So the #1 killer today still is heart attack and strokes. And I'm telling you, folks, I'm telling you, cholesterol is not even a factor. Well, wait a minute. Let me rephrase that. Bad cholesterol, which I don't believe there's such a thing, but bad cholesterol, LDL, has no bearing on heart disease. It has no bearing on heart disease. So why do we need cholesterol? Why do we need it? Well, #1, to live longer. You want to live longer? You need cholesterol. How do you get cholesterol? Well, your liver makes 85% of it. Your liver needs cholesterol. Your body needs cholesterol. How do you get it? 85% is made by your liver. Why? Because you need it. If you didn't need it, I've often used that expression, God don't trust you. So your body makes it, 85%. You think your body's making a mistake making cholesterol? You would think so. According to the pharmaceutical industry, your body's stupid. What's it making cholesterol for? How stupid is that? Your liver's making cholesterol. 85%. But God expects you to eat 15%. You got to make up. You think God made a mistake telling humans that they need to eat cholesterol? No, he didn't make no mistake. You have to make up that 15%. You got to eat it. Okay? So, eat your cholesterol. Why? You want to live longer. 2, cholesterol, your brain is made up of cholesterol. You want a healthy brain? You better eat cholesterol. Now remember, cholesterol is not found in the plant kingdom. Why do you think in this day and age, especially in the younger generation, they're being told, don't eat animal products. That fat is bad. It's full of cholesterol. And there's a whole generation now being taught in schools, being taught on the internet, being taught by their peers. Oh, don't eat that stuff. It's not good for you. And probably just about every day that I do one of these podcasts, I remind you that cholesterol is only found in the animal kingdom. Your brain is made up of cholesterol. Your cells are made up of cholesterol. Every cell in your body, the outer wall, the inner tube of your cells is cholesterol. That's why 85% of it comes out of your liver, and the other 15% you better eat it. How do you get cholesterol? In eggs, meat, and cheese. It's found in the animal products. It's not found in the plant kingdom. But just understand what's going on. You have to understand there was a huge paradigm shift that occurred in nutrition. I watched it happen. You know what? There's some advantages to being old, you know. I can tell you with my long history of watching things, observing things, I watched in horror in the 1970s. As people got this cholesterol, they were changing their butter for margarine. I used to tell my patients, what the H are you doing? And boy, did they ever have a good marketing strategy. People from my hometown used to travel into Quebec to get their margarine because it looked like butter. It was the same color. You see, in Ontario, they wouldn't allow that. You had to have a difference between, I think the farmers put up such a fight that they said, well, that's, margarine isn't butter. Oh, but it looks like butter. And so I remember people used to travel into Quebec, I'm not kidding you, to pick up the margarine that looked like butter. I'm serious. I watched it happen in horror because my biochemistry said, that's insanity. Why are people doing that? Why are you eating margarine? Why are you having vegetable oils, polyunsaturated fatty acids? When your body needs fatty acids, they need saturated fat and long-chain fatty acids for you to be healthy. Your brain is made up of cholesterol. Your cells are made up of cholesterol. Here's another one. Even for the absorption of vitamin D. Now, do I have to tell you how important vitamin D is? Do I have to tell you? You know it. Vitamin D. I hate to admit this, but it's probably more important than coffee, vitamin C. You want to have a short life? Stay out of the sun. You'll have a short life. Or shorter life. You won't be healthy. All-cause mortality is raised when you have very low cholesterol and you have low levels of vitamin D, but you need cholesterol to absorb vitamin D in your gut. Did you know that? Why? Do you know why? Because cholesterol makes up a big part of your bile. Bile's important, you know. God gave you a gallbladder, and a lot of people have lost their gallbladder. You know why? Because they didn't use it. Use it or lose it. That's what happens with the gallbladder. Because gallbladder, and I've mentioned this to you many a time, the reason that you get stones in the gallbladder is not because you're using it, it's because you're not using it enough. And then you use it a few times, and you see, your gallbladder is just a little reservoir of bile. It's just a reservoir. Bile comes from your liver into the gallbladder. It's just a little reservoir, little cup. And then when you eat fat, you pour that bile in to absorb the fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin A, we talked about that yesterday. It's important. Your invisible shield. You need bile, cholesterol, which is the big part of bile, to absorb your fat-soluble vitamins. Why would you want to lower your cholesterol? Tell me. Give me a good reason. Your body's smart. You completely go against nature when you're lowering your cholesterol. You're going against God. You're going against nature. And I know it's been drummed into us, but it ain't true. You need cholesterol for your brain. You need cholesterol for your cells. You need cholesterol for your bile. Well, bile is mostly cholesterol. Cholesterol helps even with your pH. And remember, cholesterol, very important, is a transporter. Cholesterol transports your hormones. You want to have good hormones? You better have FedEx trucks or Canada Post or US Post or Amazon trucks on the highway of your blood vessels. You see why cholesterol got into trouble? I'll tell you how it started. There was a guy named Ansel Keys. If you take any kind of nutrition course, you'll probably run into his name. I knew about Ansel Keys in the 1970s. He was a popular guy. His face was on the cover of Time magazine. Because after President Eisenhower, you remember that, guys? I do. I remember President Eisenhower. I was born in 1952. Okay? President Eisenhower. He was the president before President Kennedy. Okay? When I was a kid, President Kennedy. I remember that. I remember the day he was assassinated, like it was yesterday. And I think I was in grade 5. But I remember it. I'm a history buff. I drive my wife crazy because I'm always talking about people that were part of my childhood or whatever. And I tell my grandchildren all these stories, and they probably say, Grandpa, you're... When were you born? In the days of Noah? I love history. But you see, Ansel Keys, one guy, after President Eisenhower had a heart attack, which was Almost unheard of in those days. Did you know that? When they did the autopsy on President Eisenhower, they saw cholesterol in his blood vessels. They saw the plaque that created the heart attack. And they saw some cholesterol there. And the theory came right from then. And Ansel Keys was the guy who pushed this. He said, cholesterol must be the root of heart disease. And remember, in the 1950s, heart disease was almost nothing. People died, but they still died from infection. But you know what Ansel Keys never even brought into the equation? Everybody and their dog, including President Eisenhower. Do you know that President Eisenhower smoked 4 packs of cigarettes every day? And that created, anyway, I don't want to get into all the physiology of what happens. But President Eisenhower, it wasn't cholesterol. Of course cholesterol is present. They're the FedEx trucks on the highways of your blood vessels. They're bringing hormones, and guess what else they're doing? They're trying to hitch their wagon to your triglycerides. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to give you the background of why people went from butter to margarine. Why people went from bacon and eggs to cereal. I mean, cereals have been around for 100 years. But people went hook, line, and sinker. It started in the 50s, but it didn't get a lot of ink until the 60s. And then it was on steroids in the 70s. And the world changed. People were scared of eating butter. People were scared of eating bacon and eggs. Oh, that's full of saturated fat and cholesterol. And that will just make you so sick, it will give you a heart attack. And the opposite was true. It's exactly what happened. I'm a historian. I love history. When I was doing my PhD in nutrition, one of the biggest parts of our nutrition course was learning the history of nutrition. It was fascinating. Some of the stuff I just didn't know. I knew a little bit, obviously, about cholesterol, but some of it I didn't understand. Ansel Keys, who was he? He changed the world for the worse. And you know what? People that went against him, I remember, there were some very, very courageous doctors who went against his theory and said that's not true. And you know what happened to them? They were vilified and made, because you see, there was a lot of money behind this whole push. The cereal companies were huge. And the food companies, they went after the farmers like you would not believe. And they changed our breakfast. People were started eating cereals. Oh, Frosted Flakes are great, said Tony the Tiger. Well, Tony the Tiger was an idiot. My name is Tony. They used to call me that in school. I'm not kidding you, Tony the Tiger. But they changed the world, guys. And then Big Pharma, they got into it. After Big Food, they got into it. And what did they do? They made a drug. They brought out a class of medications that will lower your cholesterol, thinking it was good for you. Well, I don't know if Big Pharma thought about whether it was good for you or not, but they sure made a boatload of money. And they're still making a boatload of money. And they changed the thinking of 99.9% of every physician that I know. They changed their thinking. And the world has paid a huge price. Can I just give you a little bit of proof? You know what the number one killer is? Chronic disease. What's the number one killer still today? Heart disease and stroke. It's still number one. I'll tell you something. If statins worked, if lowering your cholesterol was a good thing, we would have got rid of heart disease by now. True story. About 10 years ago, maybe a little bit, no, about 10 years ago, in the House of Commons in the United Kingdom, there was actually a vote. It was shot down, but there actually came to the parliament there to add statin drugs to the drinking water in the United Kingdom. That's how far this insanity went. Every cardiologist, every doctor, just about. Cholesterol was made the boogeyman. And you can't live without cholesterol. And the higher your cholesterol is, the better it is. So let me take, you want to know? I can tell you whether you have metabolic syndrome in 5 seconds. Send me your blood work. Tony Jr. and I were discussing this yesterday on the live, and it's true. All I need to do is look at 2 numbers, and I can tell you where you're at. I can tell you where your liver is at. Your liver's a suitcase. Problem with the internet. Am I still all right? Connection available. Okay? Sorry if I had technical difficulties. Okay? So yeah, we did lose some people on, and then the numbers are right back up. Okay. So let me just close with this. I don't know what was happening with my Wi-Fi here. Haven't had trouble with it really. Let me tell you how to elevate your good cholesterol. Well, good cholesterol, elevate it, eat it. You have to eat that 15%. You got to make up for what your liver doesn't make. 15%. So eat cholesterol, eggs, meat, and cheese. Do you know that exercise, vitamin E, helps with do you know that vitamin E helps with, vitamin E exercise? Sorry, my wife was just telling me that our Wi-Fi is down. Okay, so I don't know if this has affected you or not. I see little hearts coming up, so that must be all right. Or is that you're telling me you love me? Okay, so as long as you can see me and hear me, I'm sorry whatever happened this morning, okay? So how can I raise my good cholesterol? You must eat it. And it's only found in the animal products. Sorry, it's not in the plant kingdom. It's not there, okay? 2, Exercise, vitamin E. Isn't that good? So when you go for a walk, and you know me, I'm big on at least 3 or 4 days a week, 15 to 20 minutes. Short, but intense if you can do it. And lift weights. There's nothing better in terms of your blood work than short 15, 10, 15, 20 minutes. You don't have to go long of intense exercise. I've shared this with you before, Tabata. I don't know how they say it, but it's an app that I have on my phone, and I use it every day. I use it every day, and it's a 4-minute thing. 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 repetitions, and you can do. Sometimes I do push-ups. I've got my gym's in my basement. Okay, so I have some weights there. I love the rebounder. I love that. So good for your nitric oxide, but it's also good for your cholesterol. It'll elevate your good cholesterol, HDL. The other one is lower your triglycerides. So one, you eat the cholesterol, and the other one, you lower your triglycerides. What are triglycerides? 3 fat balls, triglyceride fat, okay? 3 fats come from, you guys know this. How do you get high triglycerides? By eating sugar and crappy carbohydrates. So when you lower your crappy carbohydrates, you lower your triglycerides. You eat cholesterol so that you have FedEx trucks on the highway, Canada Post, Purelator, shall we? A good friend. It grabs your triglycerides and takes them out. You know how you get a heart attack? Triglycerides. TG. So exercise, eat cholesterol, eat it. And cut out your crappy carbs and sugars, because that fills up your liver. That's what happens. Another one, increase your vitamin D. Yes, even the sun helps you to elevate your good HDL. Did you know that? Isn't it funny? You need to eat cholesterol to get vitamin D because you want to absorb it properly. And you need vitamin D to elevate your good cholesterol. Wow, they go together. Incredible. You know another one is glutathione. Glutathione. What is glutathione? It's amino acids. Your body makes them. But you need to eat eggs, meat, and cheese to elevate your glutathione. That'll actually elevate your HDL. What is HDL? HDL are the FedEx trucks. The trucks on the highways of your blood vessels picking up bad fat, which isn't cholesterol, it's triglycerides. Guys, if you get this, you're ahead of 99% of the doctors I know. 99%. And here's the last one. Here's one other thing you can do. The best oil is a long-chain fatty acid, an omega-3, that will elevate your HDL. You know what it's called? High DHA oil. You see, in omega-3, you have DHA and EPA. And the higher the DHA, the higher your HDL will go. I love that DHA, high DHA oil. Now, guys, I might have lost a lot of you guys. I don't know what happened there. Like, my Wi-Fi went down. Why? I don't know. I paid my bills, I promise. Okay? Tomorrow is question and answer Friday, so if you couldn't have come on yesterday when we did our live, and that was a last minute thing. Tony Jr. and I he's been busy, and I've been busy, so we just had a hard time putting together when we could do this together, because we do it on Zoom. And we need to get together for it. So it just, his schedule was busy, my schedule was busy. And that's why we decided we didn't want to go another week. And I'm writing my book. I'm on a deadline now to finish this book. So I've been spending a lot of time just cleaning it up and finishing it. So I've been busy. So anyway, we did our live, but tomorrow we'll do question and answer, Lord willing. Okay. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Elevate your cholesterol. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol. Remember that. Talk to you soon. Love you.